When California faces a fiscal emergency, the governor does have the ability to call a special or extraordinary session. So again, the Constitution already provides in Article 4 the authority for the governor of California to call the legislature into special session. In March of 2004, in Prop 58, the voters of California added Section 10 of Article 4 to provide for special sessions to address a state fiscal emergency. So specifically, subdivision F of Section 10 specifies that if the governor determines that for that fiscal year, general fund revenues will decline substantially below the estimate of general fund revenues upon which the budget bill for that fiscal year was enacted, or general fund expenditures will increase substantially above the estimate of general fund revenues, or both of those situations, then the governor may issue a proclamation declaring a fiscal emergency and cause the legislature to assemble in special session for that purpose. Now, first, the governor's proclamation has to actually identify the nature of the fiscal emergency. And then his proclamation is submitted by the governor to the legislature, and it must be accompanied by proposed legislation to address that stated fiscal emergency. There's also a requirement on the legislature. So if they fail to pass and send to the governor a bill or multiple bills to address that fiscal emergency within 45 days following the proclamation's issuance, then the legislature is prohibited from acting on any other bill. Also, the legislature can't adjourn for a joint recess until those bills have been passed that deal with the fiscal emergency. Also, for those drafters in the House, a bill addressing the fiscal emergency is required to contain a statement to that effect. It's at the end of a bill in a plus section. So again, Prop 58 was adopted by the voters. It included the requirement on the legislature to pass a balanced budget. So prior to that year, it was only incumbent upon the governor to propose a balanced budget on January or by January the 10th. So for the last 22 years, there's been a requirement on the legislature to pass a balanced budget, as well as to create a reserve fund called the Budget Stabilization Account and prohibit any future bond issuances to finance any public debt. And essentially, the focus was on the balanced budget requirement, and then secondarily, the ability for the governor to proclaim that fiscal emergency. And the LAO described it as California having experienced major budget difficulties in recent years, and that although policymakers reduced program spending and increased revenues to deal with part of those shortfalls, the state has also carried over large deficits and engaged in a significant amount of borrowing. So again, we have the balanced budget requirement, and then also to specify the reserve, the conditions upon which funds are to be placed into reserve, and then the ability for the governor to proclaim a fiscal emergency in the state of California.